Hello Crafty friends, I'm Lien from Studio Kato and I'm so glad you're joining me again today for another episode of Merry Monday here on my YouTube channel. Today I'm using some Pinkfresh Studio products and some gorgeous embossing powder by Wow, but let's start with this stamp set. This is the Blooming Branch stamp set by Pinkfresh Studio and it has this gorgeous floral stamp. It's a really large floral stamp and I'm going to stamp it twice to fill an entire mini Slimline card. Now to do this, I cut a piece of Canson Montval 200 GSM watercolor cardstock to be quite a bit bigger than a regular mini Slimline card. I think I made it 7" by 3.5 inch, so it's half an inch larger on both ends. I am stamping this stamp in Versamark ink, stamping it a couple of times to get a really nice impression on that textured watercolor cardstock. And I'm stamping it just once, then I'm turning my paper 180 degrees and I am stamping it again. So there won't be any flowers in the center of this card, but I will fill that up with my sentiment. So I am essentially creating a really simple wreath. I also use a cloth to rub over my Misti door just to divide the pressure evenly. For my embossing powder, I chose to use this really warm tone gold. It's the metallic brass embossing powder by Wow, and I really love it. I only recently got it and it's fast becoming my favorite gold embossing powder. It almost has this pink undertone to it. It's very subtle. You only notice it when it's next to something pink. It really picks up that color. I am die cutting it with one of the dies from the Mini Slimline Essentials die set by Pinkfresh Studio. And then I am preparing my watercolor tray. Or my watercolor palette rather. I am using the Pinkfresh reinkers. Now these do behave very differently from regular watercolors, and I will explain that while I'm coloring. So I thinned these down with some water as well. Just put a couple drops of water in the palette along with the color. And I am first starting out with the blooms. Now, I mentioned that these act quite a bit differently than regular watercolor, and one of those things that you have to take care of or that you have to be aware of is that they will stain your paper really easily. That means they will leave a spot of color and you can't move it with your water again. So to not get a streaky first layer, I am first wetting my entire flower with just some regular water and then I drop in the color. And this will let the color flow really nice and evenly so you don't get streaks or stripes or anything you don't want. I did the same for the leaves and I will list all the colors I used in the description below. Now to add some shading to these flowers, I wanted to create a darker pink or a more pink. So I added another reinker, just another drop of sparkling rose, which is not a dark pink by any means, but it's a lot pinker than what I had before. Once again, I am wetting the flower first with some regular water, dropping in the color just in the center there, and then I dab away any excess with a very slightly damp brush. It's almost dry. It just has some water left over on it. And I chose to cut out most of the coloring process, but show you the slowed down version or the real-time version rather. So it's not sped up this time. I am just dotting the color in the center there. And I wanted to show you how slow I go with these. And instead of showing you me doing the exact same thing over and over again. Now I am building up layers with these. I am doing the same for the leaves. For the leaves, I only did 2 layers. For the flowers, I will go back in and do the same thing one more time later. But let's focus on the leaves now. I am, again, just putting some water down first and then dropping in the color in the areas I want darkest. And again, to make sure that darker color doesn't spread all the way over the leaf, I make sure to dab away some of the wetness with a brush first before the color spreads too much. This is really easy to do and it creates a lovely soft watercolor look, but it does take quite a bit more time because you have to first paint with water, then paint with the color, so you're doing every step twice essentially, even 6 times because I'm building up layers here. So this is the third and final layer. I am putting some water all over the flower and then dropping in the color. Again, I intensified it with some more dark ink and I'm just dropping that in the center of the flowers. For the actual flower centers, I used some brown. You can use anything here, but I figured brown would go nicely with this color palette. To make my sentiment, I die cut Joy with the Heather Uppercase Alpha die set by Pinkfresh Studio, and I die cut all letters twice from white cardstock, thick white cardstock, and once from this matte metallic gold cardstock. I'm layering those together with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue, and then I'll show you a little trick in lining up alpha dies. Or alpha die cuts rather, but you can use this for your dies as well if you have to cut a sentiment and have a negative space in the end. So to line these up on my card, I first line them up on my grid mat. I get the spacing right, I get them lined up on one of the lines, make sure the bottoms are aligned, and then I just use a piece of purple tape. I have used this purple tape before. I always reuse my purple tape a lot until it's not sticky anymore. And I just put that over it. And I will save that for later when I am ready to adhere everything together. Firstly, I want to frame this card a little bit, and I'm using embossing powder for that. Now I have an embossing pen. This is the Versamark brush pen or brush marker, and I'm just brushing that onto the sides, but you can use your ink pad as well. And I'm just putting on the embossing powder that I used for the flowers. So this is the metallic brass embossing powder by Wow. Again, I heat set that, and to adhere that panel onto my card, I first layered 3 panels of thick white cardstock behind it to prop it up and give it some dimension. Then I can take my sentiment, nicely held together with that piece of purple tape there. I put some Barely Art Precision Craft glue on all of the letters, and then I can just use that piece of purple tape to make sure it's nice in the center of my card. It's on straight and the letters are all evenly spaced. Just let that dry and take off the tape very carefully. To add a finishing touch, I am adding the Meraki Sparkle Golden Illusion gems. These are so gorgeous. I really love them. They are gold, they shift to turquoise, they shift to orange. They are amazing. I could watch these shift in the light all day. I adhered them with the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and then folded a really soft pink mini slimline envelope. I trimmed down the large flaps so they wouldn't overlap each other and your envelope won't close, and then I adhered that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft glue. And once that's folded, I can put that in my Misti, and my stamp is still in place from stamping the cards. I left it in the same exact spot, and it just happened to work out. And I'm stamping that onto my envelope with the Versamark ink again, and I will emboss this with the same metallic brass embossing powder by Wow. Once again, I heat set that off camera. It's gorgeous. I love that gold on pink. And that finishes up my card for today. A really fun, beautiful, romantic Christmas card. I love these flowers. I love the soft pink and the gold and the green. I just really like this color combo. I hope you like it too. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. You can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.